I was just going to say, isn't it wonderful to have a full room and several guests? How about that? Well, at this time, if you've not already done so and you are participating in social media, let your friends know that you are at the greatest Rotary Club on the face of the earth. This date in history. Well, once again, I found several things that I wanted to share with you that occurred on this date. I need a third hand to pull it up. Here we go. All right, in 1875, on this date, 29-year-old Alexander Graham Bell received the patent for his revolutionary new invention, the telephone. How much has changed since then? On this date in 1917, rioting over scarcity of food in Petrograd, then the capital of Russia, later renamed Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, marked the beginning of the Russian Revolution. 1 week later, just 1 week later, on March 15th, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated his throne in favor of his brother Michael, whose refusal of the crown brought an end to nearly 300 years of Tsarist autocracy. On this date in 1965, a 600-person civil rights demonstration ends in violence when marchers who planned to march the 54 miles from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, just as they crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge outside Selma, they were ordered to disperse. Moments later, police assaulted them with tear gas, bullwhips, and billy clubs. 17 marchers were hospitalized. A dozen more were treated with injuries. The events of the day became known as Bloody Sunday. And on this date in 2014, during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared, prompting a massive search effort for 3 years, and the plane was never found. And in the world of sports, on this date in 1971, Joe Frazier ends Muhammad Ali's 31-fight winning streak at Madison Square Garden, retaining the heavyweight boxing title in an unanimous decision over 15 rounds in what was called the fight of the century. Leading into the fight, Frazier was 26-0 with 23 knockouts, and Ali was 31-0 with 25 knockouts. And it was the first time that they had two undefeated champions with that big of a undefeated record fight against each other, thus fight of the century. And on this date in rock history, a sad date, George Martin, who signed the Beatles to EMI in 1962 and went on to produce most of their catalog, passed away at the age of 90. Martin produced 23 number ones on the Billboard Top 100, 19 of which were by the Beatles. He also produced top hits by Paul McCartney, Say, Say, Say with Michael Jackson, and Ebony and Ivory with Stevie Wonder, and Elton John's Candle to the Wind. And also the group America, Sister Golden Hair, which was probably the last number one song to ever have the phrase, doo-wop, 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 doo-wop. And that's this date in history. We'd like to thank our, do we have any high fives? Actually, let's first do our Rotary Is moment. So let's bring up John and Steve to talk about what they have to talk about that Rotary is. What could that be? Who's leading this off?
Well, good afternoon. Rotary is today is we're talking about the membership committee. And boy, it's great to see this room full. It's nice. This is a great view up here. The membership committee has been working hard to create a new vision or new strategy plan. And I'd like to begin by introducing the members of the committee. And if you're here, and I know a number of the members are here, please stand. Greg Allen is over here. Ken Leiser, Ken. Mike Mushett, I don't think Mike's here. Chris Angeletta, Chuck Wolf is on Zoom, and Carrie and John Minnick are the members of our committee. Carrie's here, good. John, okay, and John, thank you. And then I'd also like to point out that all of the rest of you are informal members of our committee, because all of you are part of our membership strategy and play an important role in reaching out and attracting new members to our club. And membership is vital to the survival and the growth of our club. So Steve, if you want to introduce our strategy.
Thank you, John. Well, we thought we'd give you a little report on where we are and where we're going and how we plan to get there. As you know, with any organization that isn't moving forward and striving to grow and better itself, it slides backwards, and Rotary and service clubs are no exception to that. So where are we? Well, in January of 2020, there were 131 active members of the club and 10 honorary members. As of this January, there are 124 active members and 10 honoraries, and that's as of the beginning of the year. So that would be a net reduction of 7. However, we have 10 new members who are on the club coming in since January the 1st. You may have met some of these. If not, please introduce yourself to them as you see their name tag. Justin Culpepper, he's the executive director of CTN. Cathy Yen is the director of operations. She of an organization in Chicago. I don't know if that same organization transferred over, but she transferred in from Chicago. And Nicole Thomas joins us as the director of communications and public relations of the Better Business Bureau. Mark Daniels is the superintendent of Fort Wayne Community Schools. Aaron McCarthy is the grant and donor relations manager for Armani Family Services. When I first saw our application, I thought that was the suit people, but no, it's probably not in Fort Wayne. And Susan Byer is the executive director of the Allen County Public Library. We have 2 new corporate memberships. Parkview Health, of course, Mark Heisey brought them in as a corporate member, and Mark Gillespie, Robert Harmon, and Sarah Giaquina, Dr. Sarah Giaquina joined under that membership with Mark. Ethos Audiology, Norma Marie Stewart, she's the director of that in that corporate membership. So that's kind of where we are. 10 more, so we're actually about a +3 memberships. As John and I were tasked with the responsibility of co-chairing the membership committee, we thought we ought to lay out some ideas on what to do and how to do it, and start with certain principles. And the principles that we outlined first were, why do people join a service club or Rotary? And we found that socialization and fellowship seemed to be key, business networking, community service, and then the opportunity to gain information and education about the community. We developed a membership program, which you see miraculously by Jonathan on the slides today. Thank you, Jonathan, for retrieving those. And so this document will have Jane email out to all the members so that you have it, but we determined that the membership effort should be active, overt, and ongoing, a real outreach rather than passive waiting for people to submit an application. The membership program should be based on certain principles, that it will be overt, active, and targeted, that we're looking for people in leadership positions in their organizations, whether they be a business organization, a government organization, or maybe a not-for-profit. And then the board, when they took a look at this, said, well, we really need to also add something to focus on youth, that we don't want just 40, 50, 60-year-old dudes like Jeff here. We want some people that are a little younger. And so this sentence, there's an emphasis in recruitment will also be directed to individuals who are advancing in their careers in positions of increased responsibility. And so that's the homage to the 30 and 40-year-olds. Highest quality beyond reproach in terms of character, integrity, and ethics, and will be consistent with the 4 objectives of Rotary. Now, you may have not gotten out your yellow directory book and studied what the 4 objectives are, but if you haven't, we're going to touch on them for just a moment. And the applications will be professionally processed as quickly as we get them so that people don't linger and wait and die on the vine in terms of whether they're being admitted or considered to Rotary. And I think the folks who have come in as new members have found that we jump on them and get them going right away. John and I thought it was important to reintroduce the vetting process. So if you submit an application as sponsor, we're looking for you to support that application with a statement about who this person is and why you recommend them to Rotary. And then one of the 2 of us will schedule a meeting with that person to visit with them and to find out about them and their genuine interest in service above self. Once we do that, then we recommend the application or not to the board of directors. They vote on it. Then it loops back to the sponsor, and the sponsor's job then is to communicate to the applicant that the outcome of the decision, hopefully that they have been admitted. And then the sponsor is obligated to serve as a mentor, if you will, over the course of the following year. The last page in this document does mention the objectives of Rotary, and they kind of aligned, although we didn't know this at the time we wrote our principles, but the last page on this, the development of an acquaintance as an opportunity for service, the ethical standards, the idea of service through their business and personal life, and the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace. So those are the principles and objectives of Rotary. How can you help us? Well, you all know a lot more people and organizations who ought to be represented at United or at Rotary than we do. And so Jonathan and I are dependent on you to do that internal self-inquiry. There's little sheets of paper on your table, and if you think of an organization who we should reach out to that ought to be represented in Rotary, even if you don't know who the boss, who he or she is in that organization or who the executive team is, we'll take care of that. We'll research it. We'll reach out to that organization. Maybe we haven't thought of them, or maybe you know an individual who would be great for Rotary. Write that name down. As you leave today, John and I will be out there and, hand them in, just jot a name down. Or if you think of it after the fact, send us an email and we'll divvy them up and follow up on them. So fill out the form and hand it in and talk about Rotary to your friends and associates and help us out. Any questions, comments? They're all, John, for you to answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. We really wanted to, now that we're meeting back in person, step up our recruitment efforts. And so the membership committee really wanted to smooth out the process and really get moving on trying to bring some more folks into Rotary, because the more people we have, the more ideas we can generate, the more service that we can provide. So it's all about being the best club that we can be. All right, again, Rotary took the place of our Sergeants program. And so this is the time that if you've not already done so, please put $3 in the pot on your table. If you're a guest, you don't need to do that. Yes. I realize that, and I have their badges here in front of me. So I'd like to call Justin and Kenyon forward. This is your first in-person meeting, and so we wanted to present you with your badge so you don't have to make one up anymore. And it's just an opportunity for you, and your pins here, as well as your yellow card that does say what Rotary is all about. Would you guys like to make any statements to the group?
Sure. Some of you have met. If I haven't, Kenyon Civils, my wife and I, we are with the Salvation Army, and let's see. I'm a Michigan grad, so go blue. And if you don't like Michigan, then that's okay. That's right. Doing very well in basketball this year, but no, we're excited to be in Fort Wayne. We moved here in July. We have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and so we're very busy and don't always sleep much. But yeah, we're excited to be here in Fort Wayne and excited to, well, I'm excited to be a part of Rotary and to meet all of you. So.
Thank you, Kenyon. Justin Klepper, I'm Executive Director at CTN, and really appreciate the opportunity to be with you all and to jump into this endeavor. We've had a lot of big things happening.
Now I'm participating in a fundraiser for CTN next week. It's a trivia luncheon on the TV series The Office. So I hope to have some fun with that. We asked you to put the $3 in. Are there any high fives? Seeing none, we will move on. I'd like to thank our Rotary workers. Ramesh did our house setup today, and our spin editor is Mark Heisey, and Jonathan is on the AV. It's great to meet in person. Jane, what is our number count here today? All right. You count while I go on. I was just wondering. And what's our number count online? 20? 47 on 47 in the room and 23 online. What's that up to? Michigan grad said 60. All right. We will keep the Zoom option going for folks because obviously there's folks that are out of town, down south, and otherwise can't make it in. So it's great to continue to have that available. I'd also like to recognize at this time a former member, and actually former president of the club, Paul Steiner, passed away this past week. He's the former president of the Brotherhood Mutual Insurance Company, as well as serving in our club for many years. He passed away at age 92. So we ask you to keep he and his family in your prayers. We have a student Rotarian we're going to hear from this morning. And John, are you going to introduce them? There go my glasses.
Thank you. Hold on, I can't read my notes. Which of course this means they fog up. So I'd like to introduce Jasmine Swenson. Jasmine is a senior at Homestead High School. Probably known to some of you since she is the president and founder of the Homestead Interact Club. Also a Rotary Youth Leadership Award recipient and a member of the executive board of the National Honor Society at Homestead. Her career plans are to become a registered nurse, and she's already been accepted and planning to attend Grace College out in Winona Lake. So please welcome with me, Jasmine Swenson. Jasmine. There you go.
I suppose I should probably take that. Is it working? Okay, I can't tell from up here. I guess the speakers are facing outward. Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying thank you for having me today. Speak louder. Gotcha. Okay, I want to say thank you for having me today. It's an honor to be here in front of you. I was shocked and in awe to be chosen to be the student Rotarian for Homestead. Yeah, a little bit about me. I moved to Sacs as a sophomore, so I've been here for a few years, enough to learn about the service environment at Homestead, which is fantastic. I can't wait to talk about it. Yep, I'm attending Grace College in the fall. I love leadership and reading and interacting, and if that doesn't make sense to you now, it will later. So can we switch the slide? Oh, okay, one more. Okay, so service at Homestead manifests itself in several ways, not all of which I'm involved in, and unfortunately not all of which I can talk about today. I just don't have enough time. There are that many opportunities. So I figured we would start off with this quote by Mahatma Gandhi. It says, the best way to find yourself is, excuse me, to lose yourself in the service of others. And I feel like that perfectly encapsulates the atmosphere at Homestead. It's really encouraging to students to get involved. And so there are two broad ways that students can learn about and get involved in service projects at Homestead. So the first way is through participating. It's an excellent way to get involved, take your first steps towards learning that service inherently transcends the self, the service above self motto. Often high school kids, I've noticed, use clubs to bolster their college resume. And having been one of those students before I learned about Interact, before I learned what it meant to put service above self, I know from experience that Homestead clubs challenge and change the way you view service, because it's not a stereotypical community service opportunity, but it's an opportunity to learn with your peers how impactful your actions can be. And I feel like that's incredibly important. So for example, peer tutors. This is a class at Homestead offered to upperclassmen. They go to seminar, which is freshman study hall, and they work with them on homework, test prep, getting to know them, just making them feel welcome in the Homestead community. That's really beneficial because it lays the foundation for a new generation of service-minded Homestead students. And oh, dang it, I always miss this transition. Okay, we can go one more. Then we have National Honor Society, or NHS. So our primary functions are tutoring and encouraging community service. Each member is required to have 10 hours of community service per year, and there are a few ways we do that. Perfect. First one is one-on-one tutoring. That's our primary goal for members. This year with COVID, it's been a bit difficult because you said, how do we manage safely to get people together to tutor? So we've used Zoom. I know we've all had plenty of experience with that, the good and the bad. And then we also do the Coffee House, which is our annual fundraiser and arts exhibition. We have NHS members volunteer to help run the event, which teaches them about not only about leadership, how to run an event like that, but also to lead with a servant-minded attitude, recognizing that every action you make in serving someone else benefits the world in a different way. So we can go to the next slide. Then we have Key Club. Figured we would throw that in there. It's our biggest service organization aside from NHS at Homestead. It's very popular. They do various projects, anything from the Salvation Army bell ringing at the Red Buckets to canned food drives. There's actually one in the works right now. They're working with NHS on that. We're excited to get it going. Then, so each of these clubs, so to sum up that part of the presentation, those are all things that kids can participate in. And then the second way that we can learn about service at Homestead is by blazing a trail, so to speak, or starting your own service organization or club or opportunity. And Homestead has an atmosphere that's encouraging to kids to make their own path and to find a new way to serve. They say, of course, get involved. We love you. We would love for you to do that. But they also say, here are these opportunities, these resources to make a new path. They're supposed to blaze a trail. It teaches leadership through action, not just through participation, and exemplifies how a leader is at their core a servant, I would say, and servants are perfectly suited to service. So we can switch the slide. Perfect. Okay, so student ambassadors, I felt like was a perfect example of kids blazing a trail. This is an organization started by two siblings who moved to Homestead and realized that there weren't enough resources for new students. And so they started the Student Ambassador Club. They are essentially the face of the school to new students. They do everything from freshman orientation to 8th grade parent night. If anybody has had a student go through Homestead, they probably know what that is. But I think the most important thing that they do are new student tours. And being an ambassador myself, I would say that it's the most important thing they do because it has the biggest impact on both the ambassador and the new student, because it's showing both parties how important it can be to put your time and your effort and your talents towards someone else, because you have no idea how that could change their life. Having been a new student, I can speak from experience that the student ambassadors are fantastic club. So we can switch. Then we have Interact. This is my pride and joy at Homestead. It's my baby. For those of you who don't know what Interact is, it's, to sum it up and not do it quite enough justice, it's basically Rotary for 6th through 12th graders. So we share the same goals. And it's kind of the literal manifestation of service above self at Homestead. And we can move on. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so to preface this, I would say that yes, we have both an Interact and a Key Club at Homestead, but that's because Interact has the more international component, which administration really seemed to like when we proposed to start an Interact Club. And then I'd say, yeah, in the bio said I attended RILA. I had the privilege, it was an absolute honor to attend the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards in 2019. It was a life-changing event. I'm not sure how I could explain it. But it's what led me to start Interact at my high school. And it's kind of the root of tree of knowledge about leadership for me. And then, so some quick facts about, yeah, that'll work. No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you. I'm sorry. A little bit nervous if you can't tell. Some quick facts about Interact. We were established in 2019. We've done 3 major service projects so far, along with various other projects. We have 10 to 15 members. We're a small club. But I think that makes us stronger because we have a chance to get to know each other better. And then we have we always emphasize leadership, which I was told that was a bit unique in the way we do it, because every week we try to emphasize some facet of leadership. We try to define it, which is more difficult than you would think. It's actually kind of a subjective term. I wrote an essay on it. Not that that's super relevant. Anyway, we also play leadership activities, and we talk about the future because it's important as a leader to be able to anticipate and see what your future holds, to plan ahead. Okay, so yes, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so I got my note cards out of order. There we go. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So our major projects, could we go? Yeah, perfect, thank you. So Bake Sale was our first project ever. It turned out to be a much bigger ordeal than we thought it was going to. It was to raise money for hurricane relief in the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian wreaked havoc down there. We raised over $800 with our bake sale at the parent-teacher conferences, which completely blew me away. It was a fantastic learning experience. Learned that time management is key. We did not give ourselves enough time, but we learned from that. And then we had the Purple Pinky. If you want to go, you can go down a slide. This was a picture from our bake sale. And okay, so our Purple Pinky event was that same year. You might notice, might recognize Mr. Gibson there holding the poster. Excuse me. Not as successful in that we didn't raise as much money. However, it taught us that even when things don't go quite as planned, and there were definitely some hiccups, the perseverance and dedication can make a project successful. We also had Mrs. Verlee, Lorelei Verlee, present via Zoom to our club when we were all at home. It was fantastic to learn about creative women of the world. It's too bad that she's not here. I would have loved to have met her, but I got to meet her husband. That was a privilege. And then our blanket making day. This was our most recent event. We made 8 blankets to donate to the Hands of Hope Foundation, which works with foster children in and around the area. We wanted to do something for groups who were less recognized, less in the spotlight due to the COVID pandemic. Our first thought before we settled on that was, let's do something for healthcare workers. And we realized that they are absolutely deserving. That would be a worthy project. However, we should probably turn to someone who doesn't get as much attention, who still needs it. So we chose foster children. Okay, and then next. Okay, and so I wanted to end by extending an invitation to any Rotarians who would like to join us at our projects at Homestead. We would be happy to have you, more than happy. And to say thank you for those who've helped us out before. It's always fantastic to get to know you, to network. I want to say thank you again for having me. It's been a privilege and an honor. And I don't know how this works. If I can say, are there questions, or if that's afterwards? Okay.
Thank you. It's neat whenever one of our student Rotarians has the opportunity to speak after their visit, just to see the marvelous generation that's coming along, that's following us, no matter what school system they come from. So we thank you for coming, and we thank you for your presentation. You also have an opportunity if you, I believe it's the month of April, Ruth, for Rotary Is. We're looking for folks that would be interested in signing up to do the Rotary Is moment, whether in person or online. If you have something you'd like to volunteer to do that for, please see Ruth Coons. All right, and now we're finally ready for our program, and I believe Faye is going to introduce the program for us today. Faye?
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I want to start out by introducing my boss. That's always a good place to start, right? Dr. Daniel, stand up, come on. He is going to present, I think, in 2 weeks and talk about some cool projects and initiatives that he has brought to Fort Wayne Community Schools that we're very, very excited about. But I want to today talk about the Family and Community Engagement Center, as we lovingly call FACE. And I've brought some folks with me. I'll introduce those as we get a little further along. But if we can go to the next slide. This is our organizational structure, and I share this with you so that you can see some of the things that we do at FACE, and I'll have another slide a little later on that will show that even more. But I would like Tim Captain to stand up at this point. He is the Director for Student, Family, and Support Services, and we'll talk about what he does. We brought some cards for you, and we brought some pamphlets, because this is really about service to the community, to students, to our families within Fort Wayne Community Schools. And so if you know of folks that can utilize some of the things that we're going to show today, we certainly want you to reach out to us and connect us with them. The next person I want to introduce is Liz Bryan. If you'll stand, Liz. She's in charge of personalized education, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get along. And then Shanita Bolton, who is responsible for our college and career readiness piece, which has been a real boost, all of these programs, to what we are able to do and offer students within Fort Wayne Community Schools. Everyone else on here rolls up into one of these individuals and provide the services that they offer. So we are about district goal number 2. When we first opened up the center, I used to wear a badge that said proud to be number 2. And it really was, and it said, ask me why. Because we really wanted people to find out about us, know where we were, what we were doing, and the services that we provided. And so goal number 2 for Fort Wayne Community Schools is about engaging all segments of the community and how we support students and families through the educational process. And so we have what we call a pyramid for success, or what's MTSS, multi-tiered system of support. And so the things that we offer within the school district that all students get should meet the needs of 80 to 90% of our students. The students who need more, which we would at some point call students of concern, and we have a student support system that helps to identify what are the other supports they need, those students would fall into tier 2. And then students who need even more, and a lot of times people see that as a deficit model. These are students that are struggling. That's not the case. These may be students who are excelling, but we need to figure out how to grow them even more, challenge them even more, and what do they need? We have many high-flying students who don't know how to get into college. They don't know what steps they need to take. And so those students would fall into tier 2 or tier 3, and we would provide them supports, as well as the students who may need additional support when it comes to reading and math and the other things. FACE, when we decided to put this place together, it was a place we wanted to consider centralized support, where families could go and they would be able to get their needs met, so that barriers that keep them from accessing educational opportunities could be removed. Homelessness, all of those kinds of things, we can help support in finding locations in that. So FACE is the centralized location. It serves as a gateway to the critical support services for our families and students. Offers innovative solutions, and we're continually trying to work on that edge as to what more do we need to do, what else do we need to do. And so the next slide shows the location at 230 East Douglas Street. And then the next few slides show the services we provide. Yeah, thank you. So student placement and enrollment falls under Tim. We have a health clinic there, so students can get physicals, they can get immunizations. We do screenings, hearing, vision, and then make referrals. Students can even get free glasses if they can't afford those. We offer classes through our clinic for adults and students. One of our biggest is babysitting. We have a lot of students who come and it's all free. Everything we do at the center is free. The next slide shows community programs or college and career readiness, which Shanita is responsible for. She sits down with students, parents, and their child individually, and she has a team. Stephanie, you want to stand up for a quick second? Everyone knows Stephanie. Stephanie is one of our Gear Up advisors. And so they work this year in middle school and high school. Next year, that advisory team will move completely to high school because it's through a grant and we're working with a specific cohort of students. So they look at resumes, they do internships, they help students with FAFSA completion, applications. They will review the students' essays that have to be written for college. So it's a total support in looking at scholarships and all of those kinds of things. Personalized education is Liz Bryan. She oversees our alternative schools. She also works with students around social emotional well-being and as well as adults. So we have a slide a little bit later on that'll talk about that in more in depth. Families in transition, some people like to call them homeless. We want to call them families that are in transition. So we have clothing bank where we can connect folks with food, with housing, all of those kinds of things. Next slide. And the next one has to do with community programs that offers tutoring. Some of you may know of Study Connection. That falls out of phase. K-12 athletic support. We are support to the schools in making connections with the community, and vocal and instrumental music program. We have what's called a B instrumental program. Students get an exploratory year in 6th grade, and then they get a brand new instrument from 7th grade through 12th. Some of our students, because they don't have the opportunity or funds to be able to buy an instrument, we then give them an instrument so that they don't have that hurdle of not participating because they don't have what they need. We also have folks who run summer camps for our music program, and we have people who come into the building because our students can't afford, many of them, to have private lessons. So we have folks who come in and do small group instruction. So professional learning is a big piece of what we provide coming out of FACE. And one of those pieces has to do with enhancing child well-being. And so things like mental health support, self-regulation, trauma-informed care, de-escalation, restorative practices are all a part of what we do as we're providing support to students. But then we had teachers who said, what about us? You know, we're working with students. Sometimes it's difficult, even just hearing some of the stories of our students. Teachers are saying, how can I help? How can I help? But I also need support. And so we are doing things around adult well-being as well. And the whole thing that IRIC presented on a couple of weeks ago around Dr. Lasambe's work, we are also part of that initiative. And we have about 600 people in Fort Wayne Community Schools who get onto those keynotes and onto those education-specific sessions. And we are having deep, rich conversation within our school district about how we as a school district can move forward when we think about that whole shared humanity, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So our well-being system consists of positive behavior intervention and supports. And this is how do buildings individually develop a culture of learning. And so we talk about neuroscience, which is brain research. How does the adolescent brain work? And then what might be those the adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, trauma that students may have experienced. So how does the brain develop? And then if they have had those trauma experiences, that may cause some delay in brain development. So we need to understand that. And then our tiered supports, as we talked about before, the multi-tiered, multi-system of, or tiered system of support is what we utilize to try to meet those needs. And that's our readiness or well-being system for students. And then we work with teachers and strategies that they can use as they are working with students, as well as what do we do for the teachers and adults that work with our students. So I'm sure Dr. Daniel will cover this as he's talking deep learning, and Kathy talked a little bit about this, but we want to make sure that when our students graduate, they have acquired these 6 C's. It's very important. When we were talking to folks just a few weeks ago about what are employers looking for when students come into their workspace, And these are the kinds of things, the ability to collaborate, the ability to think critically, to be creative around what they do, get along with others, those kinds of things. And we want to work with our students to make sure that when they leave Fort Wayne Community Schools, they have these 6 C's. One of the things that we are working towards and have been as a part of FACE is who are our partners in the community to help provide resources. Almost everyone, Tim, Liz, and Shanita are on boards in the community as we continue to look for resources that help with the learning environment every day. And then we connect those resources to the schools. We connect those resources to our education component, the curriculum and all of that, so that we can really grow students the way that we want to see them in the city of Fort Wayne. So FACE is, and if you just continue to click, they'll pop up. FACE is about service. It's about support to families, students, and adults who work within the district. It's about how we communicate so that we'll make sure we're doing the best for all, and it's about engagement. So we work with PTA, we work with community partners. Dr. Daniel has a student advisory, and we work with youth serving organizations. So every month we meet with Boys and Girls Club, Ewell Wilson Center, Parks and Recreation, YMCAs, libraries, all at one time to talk about shared resources, how we can support each other, because after all, we have many of the same students. So what is it we need to do to support them, and how can they support us? This is something I went through Leadership Fort Wayne, and Justin at that time was working with Sherry Becker around having that program put together. And there was a gentleman that was part of this that said this. It's kind of one of those urban slang words that if you look it up, and it's the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as our own. And when we think about shared humanity, it really is about seeing people as we see ourselves and trying to support them, to help them to have maybe what they don't have. But even if they have it, how do we grow that? How do we stretch that? And so that's what FACE is all about, helping students and families to overcome, helping students and families to grow from where they are to greater position. This is the address. I have Tim Captain's name on there. He's overseeing the center. And or not the address, my name and Tim, but the person you need to contact at FACE is Tim, and he can get you to the resources that are available there at the center. So Q&A, and let me do this first. We have some packets here. There weren't as many of you here last week, so when they said, how many do you need? I said, about 30, thinking I had overshot. Well, thanks for coming out today. And we're going to hand out anyone who would like to have a packet. If you don't get one today in Fort Wayne Community Schools, we won't give you one. But if you don't get one today, we will make sure you get one. It just has the information about all the various programs. They also brought some cards, their own business card, to share so that if you know families who need these supports, you know students who are looking for a great school district to enroll in, Fort Wayne Community Schools has taken them all. So please head them our direction. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm on Zoom. Hi, I'm Kathy Callan. I just have a question about, can you talk a little bit about the foundation and if there are certain programs in the foundation and how the community might be supportive?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Fort Wayne Community Schools has a foundation right now, and we're just wrapping this campaign up. It's about Be Instrumental. It's that program where we're putting instruments in the hands of students, giving them some support so that they can grow in that skill set, that they can be involved. So the foundation, its initial focus was around Be Instrumental and raising funds to be able to support those instruments, support those individuals that are coming in and providing the extra support. And now we are taking a look at what is the next initiative for that foundation. We have reached our goal, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 3 million, and we have already 2 million. Thank you, Kathy. I'm so glad you're here today. So $2 million, we have reached that goal. We want to continue that program. We're not going to drop it. We're not going to drop the focus, but we do want to see what else we need to do to help support our students, and that will become our next initiative. And so I know Dr. Daniel has a lot of great ideas around that, so he'll be talking about that when he comes in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Fay and Dr. Daniel, usually you hear the complaints when people have things going wrong, but I want to give you a shout out for the job that you do for Fort Wayne. Many of you know in my former career, I was involved in the physician's practice. We had to recruit physicians from all over the country, residency programs from all over the world. And when we were recruiting, we recruit the husband and the wife. And to those two people, to one of them, depending on which one was the doctor, the quality of the medical staff in town was very important. To the other was the quality of the schools. And we were always so pleased that we could present Fort Wayne Community Schools as an outstanding alternative for their kids, that they didn't have to flee to the suburbs or to a private school. They could buy a nice home in the community. We recruited about 42 doctors during that 25-year period I was there, and always the schools were a big helper in getting that job done. So well done.
You got one on Zoom.
So the question on Zoom, if you would repeat is any comments on the voucher issue?
You know, my boss is here. So if he wants to field that, I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Sure. So the question is, what about vouchers? So I just was on a Zoom with both the South Allen County Schools, Southwest. I was there with Northwest and East Allen. So our position is pretty simple. I have no problem competing. Matter of fact, competition's good. Just create a level playing field, which means if you're going to do this, have it be such that all dollars that are public dollars should be accounted for. So we go through extensive auditing. How many times? Once per year? Outside resources, outside, should I say, auditors come through our system, make sure that everyone is spending those dollars as they should. Now, to be quite frank, there are times where we need to be reminded, you know, this is really the way you should be doing this, and so on and so forth. Everyone needs that. So why is that not the case? Second of all, and I'll always will say this, if you don't have a strong public school system, your community is not going to thrive. To this gentleman's point, you have to have strong public schools. Yes, do I believe in private schooling? Do I believe in parochial schooling? Absolutely. My father was a minister. My brother, actually, he was a American Baptist, and yet my brother went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school in Toledo, Ohio. Now think about that. It tells you a little bit about the public schools in Toledo in that area. That's what it tells you. So they elected to send him to a parochial school. Now, again, Fort Wayne, strong community. I heard this just the other day. Third fastest growing metropolitan area in the Midwest. Why? It's because of organizations like this. It's because we have great schools, and it's because we have great people who are recruiting to bring new business to our community. We're growing. So in regards to vouchers, I could go on and on. I'll just say, let's keep it level. Keep a level playing field, and I'll support competition any day of the week.
Thank you so much. And Faye, thank you. Once again, you've proven that some of our best speakers that we have are from our own members. Next week, we have an interesting, our speaker is actually going to be a panel. We're going to be bringing in a group of former exchange students to see where they are today and hear about their time in exchange and what they've done since then and how that exchange impacted their lives. As you know, we've asked members of the club to say why they are Rotary proud. We have two that we wanted to share with you today. One comes from member Jeff Pete. Oh, that's me. And this really ties in with the presentation of our student speaker today, because one of the Rotary proud statements that I gave was, because we instill a service heart in high school students by providing leadership camps and having them experience Rotary by attending meetings, with the hope that we're planting seeds for future Rotarians and for them to see that service is important in their lives going forward. And we also have a video that we wanted to share from another member. While we are waiting for that video to come up. Oh, here we go.
I'm Rotary proud because of the persistence of my fellow Rotarians. War in Afghanistan has not stopped us from driving polio from the face of the earth. The pandemic has not kept us from serving our community. Rotarians put service above self, and for that, I'm extremely proud to be a Rotarian.
And thank you, John. All right. Well, we like to end the meetings with our presidential cabinet, and we call a member up to open the doors and see what opportunities Rotary is providing for them. And today I'm going to call our new member from the Salvation Army forward. We've not asked you to open a door before, have we? All right. I try to spread this out and not have someone get more than one opportunity, so please select a door and see what you win today. You got a rock. Well, open a different door.
Do you have an idea which one I should do? I'll pick the yellow one.
All right. And yellow in your case is gold. You have a gift certificate for Casa Restaurants.
Excellent.
And I also like to end the meeting with a quote from one of the top 100 movie lines as selected by the American Film Institute. And I try to find a way to tie one in to the presentation that we had. And so sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch, as is this one. This is because you're providing a method for students to find success and make something of their lives when they have so many things working against them. This is a line from the 1933 film 42nd Street. Sorry, you're going out there a youngster, but you're coming back a star. So again, a little bit of a stretch, but we're going to make it work. And as Rotarians, we look to the four-way test to guide our thoughts, words, and actions. Please stand and join me in reciting the test as we prepare for the week ahead. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
Rotary is adjourned.